Salmon is one of the easiest fishes to cook, and I'm showing you 3 simple ways to prepare it: a roasted salmon, a pan-seared salmon, and the ever TikTok popular air-fried salmon. Let's get started. I have 2 whole fillets of salmon, and this is readily available at just about any grocery store, even your Walmart or your Aldi or Costco, where you're gonna get a great deal. And you may or may not have noticed by now, but the L is silent. It's salmon, not salmon. How do you say it? The best budget option is to buy your salmon in the whole fillet like this. You can cut it into individual portions. You can get it with the skin off or with the skin on. If the skin is on and it freaks you out and you want it gone, starting down here at the tail end, we're gonna lift the skin away from the flesh. If you're right-handed, you'll hold the skin with your left hand, take your right hand and slide it under the skin while pulling against it with your left hand. And that's it. Cleaned off in one step. At this point, I like to cut it into portions. I got 7 portions for about 26 bucks, so about $3.70 each. And if you buy them individually portioned in the grocery store, they're typically at least $5 to $6 a portion. So I'm all about the money. Now for the skinless version that you can usually pick up like at Costco or something, it usually has this little thin flap on one side. In order to cook these little portions evenly, I like to trim it off, but don't throw it away. You can cook it separately and crumble it up and make a good salmon dip, or you can just freeze it, save a bunch, and you can make little salmon patties or something else down the road. These are gonna be great for my pan-seared salmon, and any extras, I like to just wrap up in a couple layers of saran wrap and pop them in the freezer in individual portions. Now let me show you just how easy it is to cook. I'm gonna start with the showstopper. I'm gonna roast this salmon with the skin on it because at the end of the day, it's easy just to cut portions directly off the skin. What you do want to do when you're cooking or roasting your salmon is you want to line your baking sheet. So line it with a nonstick foil or parchment or just regular foil sprayed with cooking spray and get going. When it comes to roasting your salmon, I like to think of this more as a formula and less of a recipe because you can change out the flavors every time you make it. And the 4 parts of the formula for me are a fat, something sweet, something tangy, and seasonings. The fat I'm using today is butter. I've got 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter here. Salmon is a naturally fattier fish, so you don't need to add a ton when it comes to the oil. For my sweet, I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of molasses. This is kind of one of my mom's recipes. You could also use honey or maple syrup. Those are very common with salmon or a little brown sugar. Mix your fat and sweet together. Spread our salmon with this. Just a little bit, that's all you need. Now for our seasoning, I'm gonna use just a Greek seasoning because this is my mom's recipe and this is what she did. But salt and pepper is really all you need. You could just do that. You could do a spicy jerk seasoning or a Cajun seasoning, whatever you want, okay? So I'm just gonna sprinkle pretty liberally over the top. I like to add the seasoning at this point so that it forms a little bit of a crust on the top. And then I'll hit it with some of the tang. I am going to add a little lemon on top before and then some at the end. This goes into a high oven, so I like 425 to 450 degrees. This whole thing is gonna take, maybe 20 minutes. A great trick to know when your salmon is done so that you don't have to dig into it is when you start to see the white exude from the surface. That's like its own little internal thermometer that tells you, I'm ready. To go with roasted salmon, I always love a good old classic dill sauce. This starts with just a little bit of sour cream. You could use some Greek yogurt. It's so easy and it requires no extra cooking. I'm gonna use about a tablespoon of fresh dill. If you want to use dried dill, just about a teaspoon. A little bit of salt, some fresh pepper, and a good squeeze of lemon juice. And then just some chopped capers and stir it together. I make extra because at the end of this, when you take your leftover roasted salmon and your leftover dip and you mix it together, it makes the most incredible appetizer that you can spread on crostini or bagel or serve with pita chips. It's the gift that keeps on giving. This right here is our little internal thermometer telling us it's about ready. I don't know if I can express to you how delicious this is, okay? I just need you to try it, and then I need you to comment and tell me how much you love it. Now I'm gonna try to just lift it off the skin and onto my serving platter. But if you wanted to do just an individual portion, serve it straight from here. I'm gonna show you how easy it comes off. Just get the size you want. And then just slide your spatula between the skin and the flesh. Look at that, perfectly cooked. You get one spatula under one end and another under the other end. Forgot to tell you my favorite part about cooking salmon this way. We're talking one pan and cleanup is a breeze. Hello. This is a delicious and affordable way that you can entertain, and it looks fancy as is, or you can gussy it up a little bit with some lemon and some fresh parsley. I'm gonna put a little of my sauce on top and maybe another little squeeze of lemon. To be honest, you really don't even need the sauce. There's so much flavor in the salmon. Perfectly cooked, tender, and flavorful. You gotta try this one. This next way is the way you cook your salmon if you wanna feel a little restaurant chefy, okay? Where you're just doing a simple pan sear. And all you need, a little oil and some salt. To get crispiness on food, and this goes for anything, you want it to be dry when it hits the oil. We know that water and oil do not mix, so if your surface is moist, it's not gonna get crispy, it's just gonna steam. So I like to pat it dry with some paper towels. Next, get your skillet nice and hot, medium high for a few minutes, and then we're gonna add in oil. You wanna do a couple tablespoons. We're not like deep frying by any means, but you wanna kind of cover the surface. Okay, and then sprinkle your fillets with salt. I am using the skinless fillets I prepared earlier. You can leave the skin on. It's perfectly fine. To do that, I would start with your skin side up so that your top gets really good and crispy. First, know that you can use whatever seasonings you want here. It's gonna create a flavorful crust. I'm just trying to keep this super simple today with just salt, but again, like a good blackening seasoning or Greek seasoning again here would work well. The main tip right now is to let it be. Okay, resist the urge to flip it. We're gonna let it go about 3 minutes on the first side, then it should naturally release from the pan. Oh yeah. After you flip it, you can turn it down slightly. You'll be able to tell when it's done when this becomes more opaque. Our little thermometer, built-in thermometer is working, so I'd say it's done. This is a simple bag salad with some dried cranberries and pecans, a little feta. This is basically a 2-ingredient dinner or lunch. This just makes me happy. This is one of those lunches I could eat like every day. This is true restaurant quality at home for half the price. Now let's get trendy by cooking our salmon in the air fryer. Basically, the air fryer method is the same as roasting, although it's going to deliver a crispier exterior, kind of like our pan-seared. So you're getting kind of the best of both worlds when you cook it in the air fryer. You can pretty much use whatever recipe you want, and then instead of cooking it another way, you just pop it in the air fryer. I'm using probably our highest rated salmon recipe on Allrecipes. It is called maple salmon, and it has over 5,000 5-star ratings. This one starts with a 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and then 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a little clove of garlic, a little Dijon mustard, a little pepper, and a pinch of salt, but not too much because the soy sauce is salty. The recipe calls for this to be marinated, although, you know, I ain't got time for that. So I'm just going to simply toss my fillets around in the marinade and then go straight to the air fryer. You want to be sure your air fryer basket is sprayed with a nonstick spray, or you could even lay down a little parchment because this sugar is going to cook and it might get a little sticky. If you're cooking these with the skin on them, I would put them skin side down so the rest of the surface gets nice and crispy. Look at that. This has it all going on. You got the salty sweet, and then I like to kick it up with a little sriracha and green onion. Incredibly delicious. I mean, what did we even do before air fryers? I used to complain because they took up too much counter space, but it's worth it. The salmon is done and the wine is poured. All is well in the world. It's the perfect fish to cook for families, for meal prep, or for entertaining. And I love reading your comments, so let me know what you want to see me teach you how to make next. See you next time. Perfectly cooked, tender, flavored.
Fall off your fork.